interesting because I think a lot of people have criticized Australia in a sense by, running high immigration. I mean, the Treasury forecast for the next 4 or 5 years actually have been lower versus last year, but they still remain quite high, above 200,000 net migration target per year. This year is actually 200, this coming year is actually 295,000 people, which is actually quite a lot in Australia. I think that, economically, when you think about the very basic supply and demand theory, additional immigration is not good or bad, right? Because it actually adds to both the supply and demand curve in the economy. But I think in Australia, the issue is that mix of immigration into the country, is that actually good or bad? Let's go back to housing, for example. We have more people. Technically, we should have more builders in Australia. We should have more tradies. But no, there's this stats that actually only around 2.8% of the immigration population into Australia are tradies or in the construction industry. That percentage in the native born population is actually 9%. So you get more people in, but you're not actually importing tradies. Meanwhile, the regulations and qualifications to actually, I don't know, become an electrician and put a light bulb in this country is actually too high. So you're not actually getting additional labor out from it. So you're not actually getting that additional supply, but you only add to demand. So I think that's the core issue. It's not just a number issue. I think it's a mix of immigration issue. So I think in terms of the numbers, I don't really have a big problem with it, but I do think that, it actually goes back to the deregulation problem. I think Australia needs to deregulate more. For example, you want to lower healthcare prices. Why don't you make it easier for doctors to work in Australia? And and make it easier for qualifications in Western countries to be recognized here, or even plumbers or electricians in Australia, or builders. Just things like that. Every single industry, you actually hear the exact same story here with immigration. It's not inherently bad. You just need to make it better for the talents to come here and for the right mix of people to come here.
I've observed the same anecdotally because my interpretation of it and my observation is when Australia has immigration, it is getting a lot of the demand impact, which leads to inflation and lag, but it's underutilizing the potential additional supply of various things being built. And my observation of this, anecdotally anyway, is a lot of it has to do with work rights and licensing. In particular, you will have observed, probably in your company, I haven't looked at jobs there, but often most companies require permanent residency. So that means that if someone's come in on temporary residency, even if they're highly qualified, it's exponentially more difficult for them to get a job in a company because they simply won't be interviewed. They won't even be given a chance. Similarly with the myriad other licenses. So in law, which is where my background is, say you come in with a law degree, even if it's very good as a law degree, there's an additional step that could easily take you another year to be able to work, during which time you've got the demand impact from the person being here, but not the supply of additional goods and services. At least that's what I'm observing. Is that what you're getting at with the immigration settings?
I do agree. I think one funny thing is that, again, I'm an immigrant as well. So I came to Australia in 2020. And one thing I've observed is that, say, for example, we have a lot of international students here in Australia, but a lot of the international students, they flock to industries or professions that are um, designated as the priority list. For example, accountants. Apparently, we have a shortage of accountants in Australia, so a lot of people try to do that rather than actually doing the things that are the best. Or even if they have a degree in something else abroad, like even law, for example, they would try to go into some certain professions that are on that visa list just so they can stay here. So there's this group of people that do that, which I think it is really bad because it seems like you're just running an immigration pipeline for out some arbitrary qualifications from the Home Affairs Department rather than looking at the actual shortage of the industry. Again, tradies is a big deal here. I've never seen a country that has so many regulations on who can actually put a light bulb or put a tap in my bathroom because I just recently did renovations here. So yeah, I mean I agree. I think we're not really utilizing the most of that immigration pipeline. I do think that there's a lot of scapegoats in terms of when you mention the word immigration. But again, as we've said, economically, it's actually not good or bad. I think it is bad when you have such a big influx of people. It massively adds to demand in the short terms. Meanwhile, you're not really getting any potential out of the supply in labor capacity. Um, yeah, I mean, it is definitely a long-term issue for Australia. I think, and another thing is that it goes back to that tech story that we said at the beginning as well. We're not actually getting the top talents in certain industries here as well because of that high marginal tax rates. If you want to get the best people who can supply the most to the economy because they are the most productive, then you really need to lower that tax rate.